John Denny's 40 years old today, and so I want to wish him a happy birthday publicly. We had a little cake for him this morning, which was nice. As far as the plays last week, it's never one thing. I think John's kind of taking the brunt of the quote-unquote blame. It's never one thing. He's obviously at the center of it, so he obviously gets a lot of attention his way. It's really it was a myriad of things. I mean, on both, there's a lot of little intricacies that we got to get cleaned up, and I'll give New England credit. They did a good job. Their player McClellan did a hell of a job. Great rush by him, and so we've been kind of working this week on getting a few things. There's alignments, there's hand placement, there's technique, there's all kinds of things. I think, again, John gets kind of the blame because the guy rushed on him, and we just got to do a better job on a few things. So, it's kind of a week to get back to your fundamentals and techniques and that kind of thing, and so we've been working on that, so that's about it.
Do you feel like it was something that they saw in the film that they exploited? Or
no, again, we did a pretty good job of getting a hat on a hat. That wasn't like a guy came free. We got, again, we got to do a little better job with there's an alignment thing that we got to correct it. There's a protection thing where John can get some help. There's a couple things. So, again, it's never, it always wants to be one thing, and everyone wants to blame one person and pinpoint it on one guy. And again, John's done a great job here for a long time. We'll continue to do that. I'm not worried about John Denny at all.
How did you process those moments on Sunday?
Well, they're game changers, in the game, and so obviously we did a heck of a job after the second one of stopping them before the half, which obviously we didn't let become, a snowball deal for us. When you're in the game like that, obviously with any play, every play we dissect and we look at any potential breakdowns. So it's really no different than any other play. You're looking at see what happened and kind of do it from there. And we thought we had it corrected the first time. Obviously we didn't, and then we got it corrected from there. So.
It seemed like you guys went with the rugby style for a bit. Is that just what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I mean that's something we've practiced now for a couple of years. With Matt, something that Matt's able to do that he's done a lot in his past, and so that's the ability to have that in. And although we went to it in the second half a couple times there. It's certainly not something that we're going to be, it's not going to be something we're going to be doing a boatload of. It's just a change-up, a natural change-up for that game. Thought it was a good time to break it out.
Tell us something good. What else you got?
Something good?
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess.
What were you encouraged by on Sunday then?
This past Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of things. I mean, our effort was tremendous. I thought our rush on our field goal blocks certainly helped with their misses a little bit. Certainly the second one, tremendous effort. We had a couple of mental things that were a little bit uncharacteristic of us. The effort in our special teams has been really, really good. That's been good. I think there's a couple of mental things that a little bit, like I said, a little bit uncharacteristic of us that we got to get cleaned up. So it's, this time of year, I told the players, in the beginning of the season, you look at special teams, and there's a lot of big plays in the beginning of the year, and there's a little bit of a lull. I'm talking about in general. And then there's a lot of big plays at the end of the year. And there's a reason for that. In the beginning of the season, you don't have the same atmosphere that you have in the preseason games, and there's a little bit of I don't know what the right word is, maybe a little bit of a misconception on what the tempo is going to be and all that, because you don't really get a live look at it. So you see a lot of big plays early in the season on special teams, a lot. Blocks and returns and crazy plays. Then there's a little bit of a lull during the season where things kind of level out. And then at the end of the season, you see a spike in the big plays again. And again, you have a lot of new players. Every team has injuries. You get new players playing. Your fundamentals and techniques, you don't work on them as much in practice anymore. You're working on more scheme throughout the season. And that starts to take a little bit of a dip. And, as I told our guys on Wednesday this week, it's kind of a back to basics, beginner's mentality type of thing. You got to be really locked in on your fundamentals. All the training stuff that we did in OTAs and training camp, and you're kind of back to what your square one type of thing. And that's in everything that we're doing. That's not just our punt protection, everything, and not just it's offense, it's defense, it's special teams. And so this is the time of year where you really, really got to lock in on your technique and really go back to what you rely on. And it sounds really simple, but in this time of year, blocking and tackling, simple things are going to win football games. You're the best tackling teams, the best blocking teams, the teams that win situations. Heck, I mean, you look at the end of the half, both halves of our game last week. We won both situations. We won the football game. In tight games and one-score games, teams that win situations like that, the end of the half, the 2 minutes, the 4 minutes, and things like that, are usually this time of year going to win. And it comes down to, you look at how many close games there have been now in the NFL the last month or so, and you look at how many one-score games we've been in ourselves. and could come down to a play here or there. So really kind of locking in mentally on the situations, and we spend a lot of time on that. This time of year, you get a little bit off you're not doing as much physically in practice, and it gets a little bit more mental. That's everywhere across the league, and and there's more evidence on film and watching film and studying film. That becomes the mental part of the game becomes so much more important, and that's kind of what we're kind of locking in on right now across the board. And not only that one game mentality, but the same thing with the fundamentals and techniques. And so that's been a huge emphasis for us, and that's going to be a huge part of what we're doing moving forward with these games. Starting this Sunday is going to be really, really important. So that's going to be something that we're locking in on.
Research on opposing field goal percentage, opposing extra point percentage. It seems like, and if you don't, I can find it. But
yeah.
Do you know you guys this year over a 2-year period, over a 3-year period, at the top or among the top few teams? And assuming that that's true, can you tell me a little bit about why?
Yeah, if you look at our numbers over the past, even if you take the last 5 years, for example, we're definitely in the top 5 in the league in terms of opponent field goal percentage against. I can't tell you the exact number for 5 years, but right now I believe we're in the top few again for 3, 4, or 5 years in a row. You know what? There's a few factors involved. I like to tell you that our effort on film is tremendous. That's one thing we pride ourselves on is effort. If we're going to make a mistake, the one thing we always talk about on special teams is being fast and physical. If we're going to make a mistake, we're going to be doing it full speed. We're going to be the most physical team. If you look at the effort on our field goal block team, that's something we pride ourselves on, and I think that shows on the opponent film. The opponents are looking at it. They're locking in on their protection. The operation speeds up a little bit, and all that factors in. We've definitely got our hands on some, which has helped, and I think we forced some kicks wide here and there. And as we all know, the little bit of an inch or a half a second or a quarter of a second makes a big deal on a field goal. The operation, all that, and so I think over the course of time, that's probably the reason why we've been successful in that area. And the same thing if you look at our numbers in terms of punt, net punt against and gross punt against, same type of thing with our rush. I think we've done a good job. Again, goes back to the players really buying in and giving great effort, tremendous effort in those areas, and I think those areas we've been pretty consistent at over the course of time. So,
since Jakeem got hurt, you obviously have mixed and match a bit, both punt and kickoff. Haven't seen a ton of chances, it doesn't seem like. Is that fair?
Yeah, if you look at the kick return over the course of since Jakeem's been out, since we really have Drake back there, Drake, Balaj, or Sonoris, the guys we've had back there, we haven't had a ton of opportunities. Now we end up getting a squib kick at the end of the game this week, and we got one short kick. But it's been only a handful of opportunities. Listen, Kenyon Drake has also had a great career in terms of return numbers. He's had a lot of big plays. I think no different than when teams saw Jakeem back there, teams see Drake, and some teams are going to kick it high and short and take a chance. Some teams are going to see a guy and they're going to drive it out of the end zone. So, we've done a pretty good job with the field position in that regard. As far as the punts go, that really is a game-by-game thing. It's, you can really never predict how that's going to go. It depends on the field position, your call, whether it's a rush or a return. And so, obviously, we've kind of had a lot of different people back there with Danny and Kenny and things like that. So, but you're right. There hasn't been some wide-open opportunities like we had maybe earlier in the season. And that's another trend. You look at the kickoff return, the new rules with the new rules this year, that's kind of been unique to follow. It's been unique to follow the touchback percentage and how that's going. That the play itself has been very successful in terms of the new rules and what we're trying to accomplish with the new rules. But there's a lot of teams that are opting for touchbacks, avoid the penalties, get the ball to the 25-yard line, and so that plays into it as well. And there's some teams that are deciding, hey, there was a lot more teams kicking the ball short with the old rules than the new rules. And I think we talked about in the beginning of the year, we didn't know how that was going to kind of go. And it's on a team-by-team basis, but the consensus is you get more teams kicking the ball deep right now and more teams staying in. So the touchback percentage is up a little bit. And I think, the player safety issues that we want to accomplish, through 13 games, we've accomplished, and we've really cleaned that play up, and I think it's really going really, really well.
Information on concussions being down?
I don't know the exact numbers. I do know that right now, at this point in the season, they put some numbers out at the mid-year point, and we're certainly trending in the right direction. And I don't think through the last 5 weeks that has changed at all. I know that the people that were involved in the discussions in the committee and all that, the coaches and the NFL and everybody that was involved, are very pleased right now with the way the play is going. It's kind of what we expected, a little bit more wide open play, took some of the bigger bodies out of it, took some of the back end collisions out of the play, and I know that the numbers are down. I know the injury numbers are down, but I don't have the specifics for you.
Did you think that the miracle play was going to work? Feel good about that?
The miracle play, I had an interesting perspective where I was kind of in the middle of the field, and once Drake got the ball, I think like most of us, we thought he was probably going to give it up one more time, but then when he kind of cut back to his left, back across the field and started to go back up the field, I knew Gronk was back there as well. When he first came out, we kind of looked back there, and a couple of us, I know Brock Osweiler mentioned it. I think Brock Osweiler said out loud, why is Gronk back there? So, I knew once he broke into the open field, I was kind of saying to myself, to be honest with you, I hope he just keeps the ball at this point, because the guys that were trailing him, I was hoping Ted Larson and the boys weren't going to get the ball. So, what happened was with me, with where I was standing on the field, guys started to, Kenyon was about the 10-yard line, and a bunch of our guys started to run out into the field, so I lost vision of the ball. And so all I did was look up at the fans. I just looked at the fans' reaction. That's how I knew he scored. And then I got my eyes up onto the screen. But so I was saying to myself, I hope the fans are right. So, with where he was. And then just obviously the first thing you do as a coach, what are you doing? You're looking for the flags. You're looking back behind the play, making sure the pitches were legal. You're making sure that nobody had a hold or a block in the back on those long returns. You always see those, obviously. And then was just hoping that I knew they were going to review the play, obviously, because it was a scoring play and a game winner. I was just hoping that he didn't step on the sideline. So once all those things cleared, then the celebration started for sure. And but just a testament to our guys. You guys have heard me say it before. I think over the course of the time that Adam's been here, we've been in a lot of crazy games and a lot of endings and a bunch of different types of endings, And, I think our guys have grown accustomed, over the last few years of playing to the end. We've had a bunch of crazy different endings in the last 3 years, and that's certainly the craziest, but really a testament to the guys of playing right to the end. And like I said, winning this, that's, in that case, we won the situation. And situational football this time of year wins those games, so.
What would you
kudos.
say the personality of this team is?
Overall personality, you gotta kind of like the way the guy. It's kind of like that lunch pail, hard hat kind of mentality. Guys come to work every day. We go out in the field. No different than our Wednesday, Thursday practices this week. Guys go out. They know what they got. And I kind of like that. It's kind of my personality too. It's kind of, hey, bring your lunch pail to work, put the hard hat on. We're going to work. And then on Sunday we're doing the same thing. We're guys that are fighting, and our sideline has been excellent this year in terms of guys staying in the game, staying in the moment, and kind of just having that blue collar mentality, the hard work mentality, and then we're just going to keep grinding and pounding the rock, and eventually we're going to crack it. And that's kind of where we've been. And with whoever's been in there, we obviously have had a lot of guys move in and out, got a lot of replacements and injuries, and guys that have stepped up and done plays. Kind of like no matter who it is, it's been that same mentality. It hasn't changed. With any position, whatever injuries we've had, it's kind of stayed the same that way.
Do you think the temperament of the team is one of the biggest changes from last year?
Well, you know what? I think this. I think that I definitely think we improved our locker room for sure. No doubt about that. I think you look at some of the guys we brought in here, and I know this has been talked about a lot, but some of the leadership we brought in, some of the different guys, the mentality, but even a guy, even guys, that were late additions, like a guy like Brandon Bolden, for example. A guy like that has brought a leadership to the team, and anybody we've added, it seems like any piece we've added, whether it was the off season or after the 53 cuts or whatever, have been really welcome additions to the locker room. And there's no drama, if you will. I don't see that. You guys know I've been around here for a couple of years, and there's been some drama-filled stuff that's happened here. That's no big. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag on that one. But it doesn't. I don't feel that with this crew. I feel like like I said, it's a lunch pail, hard hat crew. We're bringing our lunch to work every day. We're putting the hard hat on. We're going out to work, and this is not a drama group. There's no. I don't see the divas and the drama queens, whatever you want to call them, whatever the right term is or the wrong term, if you will. I don't see that, and I see a lot of camaraderie. I see a lot of cohesiveness. I see a lot of going out and wanting to get their job done. We call it 111th. I see a lot of guys doing their 111th every day on a daily basis, no matter who it is. Coaches, players, the entire organization. So that's kind of, I think, kind of where we are right now from a personality standpoint. It's kind of where we are from a team temperament and overall personality. I think that's kind of where we are.
What's it like to know you've still got a chance in December?
You know what? It's when you're playing games this late, it's always nice to know they still count. There's no doubt about that. But at this point, it's this one that matters because the next one's not going to matter as much, or vice versa. If we don't take care of business. But there's no doubt about when you're playing in week 15, game 14, week 15. We feel like at this point, obviously, we control our own destiny. So it's one game at a time at that, and starts this week in Minnesota.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.